Stress is something we all experience. It's a natural part of life and ensured the survival of our species. When being chased by a lion, the brain triggered the endocrine system to flood the body with stress hormones that allowed us to jump into action. These days, however, our natural stress response is often inappropriate for the stressors we encounter on a day-to-day basis. In this clip, Dr. Ruth Buczynski interviews Dr. Eva Selhub about the fear response, some of the health risks associated with stress and fear, and one way to keep the fear response at bay.
Our guest today is Dr. Eva Selhub. She is a physician in Boston and who has been the medical director of the Mind-Body Medicine Clinic, Herb Benson's clinic at Beth Israel. Why do you think that fear is so important for us to look at?
Well, the first thing I think everybody would relate to is the notion of stress, and that we all have it, and right now we have a lot of it. And, you know, invariably stress is part of life, and by definition stress means that the brain or the mind is perceiving that you do not have all the resources you need to handle a given situation. And when that happens, the brain will stimulate the unconscious and automatic physiological response, which means it revs up pretty much every system of your body to get it together to cause physical, emotional, and psychological and behavioral changes that will cause you some type of negative sensation or discomfort, which motivates you into action. The process of trying to achieve stability through change is a term actually called allostasis, which is, you know, Bruce McEwen's work. And that's really fine and dandy if we're capable of being able to keep, you know, putting that stress out and getting back into, you know, homeostasis or allostasis. However, when you cannot obtain the resource you need, i.e. you go hungry, or you can't find a coat and it's cold outside so you freeze, you could either starve or you'll die from cold, and the unconscious mind as well as eventually the conscious mind will start going into fear and apprehension of the future. So when the stress response or the stress is not taken care of or the stress response is not turned off, it becomes hyperactivated, and the unconscious mind and then later conscious mind not only perceives the situation as stressful, but as fearful. Now we're in fear and apprehension, and that's why I give it the term the fear response. That means that the mind, the conscious and unconscious mind, I use the terms loosely, but do not believe that trust that the support, the resources you need will be available to you or are available to you. And that's what I call the fear response.
Right, and the fear response actually leads to a range of effects that we all know of as the different diseases that many of the people listening are treating, the high blood pressure and so forth, that the fear response actually, the overload actually leads to.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at what I call hyperactivated stress response, you can take all of those physiologies that we mentioned into hyper: insomnia, anxiety, gastrointestinal disease of all sorts, body aches of all sorts, or any kind of muscle problem. Every disease we know of is an inflammatory disease nowadays. Depression and heart disease are inflammatory diseases, let alone, you know, arthritis and the autoimmune disorders. All kinds of metabolic disorders, osteoporosis or hypercholesterolemia or, you know, hyperglycemia. There's no disease that we know of that isn't a result of the loss of regulation of the stress response. And the flip side of that is also that as the stress response or fear response becomes so hyperactivated, it actually, like any system, will burn out. And now you actually cannot even induce the system to work, and that's what we call an inadequate stress response, where you will have fatigue and fibromyalgia. The other piece of this is that because the brain is constantly feeling stress, you know, that the lion is chasing it, even though you're not really being chased by a lion, but your perception is such, that you're literally eating up all your neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. You're also in a hyperactivated stress response, not absorbing your nutrients, your vitamins and nutrients, or your tryptophan because of the cortisol that's flying through your system. So you're literally getting low on serotonin and dopamine and getting depressed and anxious and all kinds of other psychological disorders. This is why I don't separate the mind from the body.
Let's get into keeping the fear response at bay. You've developed what you call SHIELD. Can you go over that with us?
Sure. The shield is a technique that you can use in the moment, and you can use it in the moment to shift out of that fear physiology. And basically, it's a mnemonic and it's a visualization. The visualization is a simple one. You can imagine looking at the sky and the sun is shining down on you, or the heavens are opening up, shining a divine golden light. And you can imagine that that golden light showers around you, so it's creating a shield. It's creating a sort of a periphery of love and protection. And then what you can do is you can allow yourself to S, slow down, H, honor your brilliant stress response, your brilliant body, your brilliant emotions for letting you know that you are in need, not to get angry or mad at oneself for feeling that way. Inhale deeply, I, and exhale completely. As you start doing these deep breathing motions, you will start turning around that stress response, because we know that when we're in a stress response, we stop breathing. We hold our breath. So allowing that inhale and that exhale is stimulating motor neurons in the brain to remember to breathe now. And then as you start finding yourself becoming more still and quiet, you can start asking yourself, in what way is the situation making me feel that I'm not enough or don't have enough? And listen. That's L. Listen for the answer. What is it that I'm in need of right now? It's like saying, okay, my body's telling me I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. And that's the decision. My decision, I have a choice. I can either stay in fear or in my stress response, or I can shift out of it into something that's better for me. I can shift into the love response by giving me what I need, just like a baby is given what it needs when mommy or daddy figure out what's wrong. So I'm going to decide to shift out of it and fill myself up with what it is that I need, be it the food, be it sleep, be it respect, or what have you. And that's usually when I give people some type of a phrase or what I call verbal command to do in that moment, which will start changing unconscious beliefs and paradigms that, normally will believe otherwise, and that will help that physiology shift very, very quickly.
To learn more about the fear response, visit our blog at www.nicabm.com/nicabmblog, or attend a free teleseminar at www.nicabm.com/teleseminar/2009. This December, NICABM will host its 21st International Psychology of Health, Immunity, and Disease Conference on the beautiful Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. Hundreds of practitioners will be coming from all over the United States and many parts of the world. Among the nearly 50 speakers, Dr. Selhub will be teaching a session called From Fear to Love, From Stress to Flow. There will be several sessions on related topics, including the chemistry of joy, revitalize your practice with evidence-based positive psychology, and others. To learn more about the upcoming conference and to sign up to attend and receive CE/CME credits, please visit www.nicabm.com.